Hey everybody, we are here for another episode of Life Possible with a Disability, and I have my friend April as my guest. April and I have gotten to know each other through the Customer Advisory Board with Numotion. So the Customer Advisory Board is it's about, I think, between 13 and 15, maybe 12 to 15 people across the United States that are all customers of Numotion. With different diagnoses and different types of wheelchairs. And they help to advise Numotion on a lot of different things, on how we can improve things for our customers across the country. And April and we've gotten to know each other even better because I facilitate a group that's just about service and repair. And April's in my little group, thank goodness, right, April?
Yes.
And so I've gotten to, know and love her in this brief period of time. And we both have spinal cord injuries. We're both about the same age, and we've both been injured almost the same amount of time. We both were victims not victims, we were both hurt or have our spinal cord injuries as a result of gun violence. And mine was a stranger, and April's was her boyfriend. And I'm going to let her tell a little bit about her story. And she works at the Fayette County Sheriff's Office in Lexington, Kentucky. And then we're going to talk at the end a little bit about her kind of like coming full circle and how she's improved her health and now how she is walking with ReWalk and how life-changing that's been for her. And something I want to do in the future as well. So welcome, April. How are you?
I'm doing great, Karen. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. This is, it's not the normal phone conversation that we may have, but, either one's great for us. So,
yeah, they're both close to the same. We'll probably just forget at some point and think that we're on like a regular Teams call. So
I know. So 8 years ago, I was actually me and my boyfriend had broken up, and we had broken up in June. And August the 9th of 2013, he basically hunted me down and found out where I was and came into the establishment and watched me in a mirror for probably about an hour until he saw that I got up and I went close to the door, but I wasn't going to the door to leave or anything, but I believe that's what he had assumed at that time. So he got up and came up behind me, grabbed my arm and was demanding that we go outside and talk. And I said, well, no, I don't have anything else to say. And, our relationship is over, until he pulled up his shirt. And when he pulled his shirt up, I saw the butt of a gun. At that point, I literally just blacked out. Never heard anything, never saw anything. However, when we went to trial, everything was on video. So I had to watch the video before I went to trial. And he pointed the gun at my face. I was able to swat the gun away, and it went off behind my head. And then I tried to run out the door, and I took a step and I fell. So he stood over me, and he shot me 5 times. And I remember waking up. Yeah. I think the true blessing in this was that I never felt the bullets. I never heard the gun. I never saw anything. It was as if God shielded me with himself. Even though I took on, all of this terror and trauma, I was still protected. I recall waking up on the floor. And when I woke up, there was a white sheet over me because all I could see was white. And I remember saying, I got to get up, I got to get up, I got to get up. And there was this male voice that said, no, April, just lay still, just lay right here, don't move. And I just remember struggling to get up, and I couldn't move. I couldn't move at all. And I recall all of a sudden I heard the sirens coming and getting closer and closer. And then I started gasping for air, and I said, I can't breathe. And next thing I knew, I faded out. And come to find out.
Funny. It's crazy to me when you tell me that story, just because I think we both had an experience that's like just really rare. Like I hope, well, hopefully so, but there are a lot of similarities in this story that you tell because your both of your lungs were collapsed. I had a collapsed lung. I remember gasping for air and
chest tubes on both sides.
Yeah, I've said that before. I'm like, well, I'd rather get shot again and get a chest tube. I'd rather neither. But I was awake and I remember all of that, and so I remember how painful it was. It was awful. So did he? They catch him? Did he end up in jail?
So actually, what happened? He ran out the door, and he was on the run for 9 days, and they couldn't locate him, but they kept hearing, of different places that he might be. And so basically they harassed the family, and the family got him to turn himself in.
Wow.
So, but I was at University of Kentucky Hospital, and they had a K-9 unit at my door the whole time.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah. It took 48 hours for them to catch the shooter. They caught him at like the girlfriend's mother's house. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, what was crazy was he was driving his girlfriend's car, but he was after me.
Yeah.
Well, no, when he came to shoot me, he was in her car, and took it back to her, and then he was on the run for 9 days, and so he contacted a police officer that was retired to come and get him, and that's where he turned himself in.
Glad he did.
Yeah.
And I think you had said, you forgave him a long time ago.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah. I actually
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I forgave him even before it happened, because my sole purpose was just to have peace. And I knew in order to have peace, I didn't need to have him. So I was trying to figure out, how do I get him out of my life? How do I get him out of my life? And I knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but I had no idea that he was going to attempt to take me out of here. However,
he hadn't been violent before, isn't that true?
Correct.
He'd never physically been violent with you.
He had never physically been violent with me, not until June, which was his birthday. But at that point, that was when I had him arrested, and he never did come back to my house. So when he got out of jail, I guess he was just upset and mad that, his lifestyle, his livelihood, everything was taken away from him. And I'm sure, there were some mental, issues as well that were, I guess, off balance, I'll say. Mm-hmm. So it ended up, he got 35 years, and he's in the Kentucky State Penitentiary. And so he's eligible for parole after 17 and a half. But as long as I'm here, he will be in there.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Good for you. So where did that lead you? I know, why don't you tell us a little bit about your rehab, and kind of how that went? Because I think you got quite a bit of rehab after.
I did, because when I came out of the University of Kentucky Hospital, I think I was there for about 2.5 weeks, and I went straight to Cardinal Hill. So I was in Cardinal Hill from, I'll say, August. It was basically 90 days. So I came out of there mid-October. So a lot of therapy went on, during that time. After that, I continued therapy. And, one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to walk. I wanted to walk. And I was like, okay, put me on that, because I'm going to walk again, because I didn't really learn that I was paralyzed until I went to Cardinal Hill. And so that's a lot to take in. And I never questioned it. I never got upset about it. I was just grateful to be alive. But I hadn't learned to process to live for that day instead of trying to shoot for walking, say, a year later. And I think part of the success in being able to live a a good life and a healthy life, being paralyzed, is to accept the fact that you want to live for today. If you can't live for today, you can't live for tomorrow. So that's pretty strong for me. But as far as therapy is concerned, I did continue therapy, and but I was finding that therapy just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough, because I wanted to do more. But there were so many different factors that went on to where therapy just kind of started to diminish. I believe because COVID kind of kicked in gear. And so they saved all the therapy for the COVID patients, and most of the COVID patients were going to Cardinal Hill for recovery. So that avenue just kind of shut down. However, I knew that at some point I had to do something because I was being fitted for another cushion, another chair, and I had to get on the scale. Yeah. When I got on the scale, it was a nightmare, and I knew I was living in a nightmare. And at that point, I realized I was 320 pounds. Yeah. And I was disgusted. I was upset. I was afraid.
Has that happened, most of that from the time of your injury until that time? It's slow weight gain?
It was slow weight gain. At the time, I was in a manual chair, and I was getting around and going places and stuff, but it just wasn't the same, and I wasn't getting the exercise that I needed. Probably wasn't eating the right things. But if you don't see yourself, for me, I couldn't see myself. Of course, I am trying to. Just a second. I think I lost you. Are you there?
I can still hear you.
Okay. Okay, I can hear you.
It says it's still recording, so we'll just keep going.
Okay. Sorry. I was trying to figure out, what can I do? But I knew that I had to change my eating immediately. So after the day on the scale, I went cold turkey on sodas, sugar, carbs, and I went straight protein, drinking a gallon of water a day. And I think I probably lost like 25 pounds in 2 weeks. Wow. And then I also decided that October, I said, well, I think I'm going to, go ahead and, have surgery and, get this thing in gear. And, I just knew I had to do better and take better care of myself, because I also knew that I couldn't continue to live this way and be in a wheelchair.
Right.
So I got myself a trainer, and I got myself a trainer right at the beginning of COVID. And I think the most amazing thing was that when I reached out to this trainer, he never hesitated. And, he had never worked with anyone in a wheelchair, but he was willing to give it a try. And I think that's what kind of reeled me in and said, okay, let's do it. Because that was a Tuesday when I called him, and that Saturday I was in his garage working out. So
I've seen a video of you, and it's amazing, because he's like, you're in the standing. I think it's a Permobil F5, or is that your F5?
If it was the most recent one, yes, it's the F5.
Yeah, it was, because you're standing up and you're boxing,
yes,
which takes a lot of cardiovascular strength and some core movement. I don't think people realize how hard that is for somebody with paralysis to do, but it went, I watched the video and I was worn out just watching it, but you can tell he pushes you, probably a little bit past your limits each time.
He does. And I tell you, that same day we were working out, and I put the armrest up. And what I found, even standing up and even, secured in, I had to use my core to not sway to the left or right. Because even though I'm, belted in, you still don't want to lean that direction.
Right.
So it's even more work on my core, which I've, worked extremely hard to build up to where as a T3, T4, I can do a sit up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's just unbelievable. So, with this workout, I've now lost over 2 years. I've lost 180 pounds. I've gained a little bit back, which I'm okay with that because 140 pounds was just too small for my frame.
Yeah.
But everything is going extremely well now, and what this has allowed me to do is to be a candidate for an exoskeleton. And little did I ever expect that they would choose me for that, because I recall trying to stand in therapy at Cardinal Hill, and all I could remember is leaning up over the table and trying to hold myself up by leaning over the table because I couldn't support myself standing up.
Right.
But now, with my actual first trial in the exoskeleton, I was able to do 2 laps in the room, and I think I amazed myself.
Yeah, and everybody else. Yeah, and so there's a bunch of different versions of exoskeletons, and the one that April's using is Rewalk, and I would love to try. They do trials of it at Toro Hospital, and I was going to do it prior to COVID, and then all of that, shut down. They weren't doing any of that stuff anymore, so I need to revisit that soon.
Yes.
Yeah, and so and I'll give you April's social media, like Instagram and Facebook, so that y'all can follow her journey. She's still raising money to get her hands on that Rewalk system so she can bring it home. Because I had done an exoskeleton that required like a therapist to be holding on to you, so it wasn't FDA approved for home use. And the nice thing about Rewalk is you can use it. You get trained in the hospital, but you can use it at home.
Yes.
So I think maybe what we should talk about now is tell everyone a little bit about the Customer Advisory Board, because I really wasn't involved from the very beginning. My colleague and friend Justin Richardson was leading it, and it used to be like the whole big group met. But why don't you want to tell us a little bit about that and kind of like, I guess, what changes you've seen since starting it? With that, I think that'd be interesting.
Yes. So I will say that, it started out as a collaborative group of, I guess, maybe 15, 16 people total. And it was, it was exciting, and it's still exciting. It was great to, meet other people and hear others' situations or challenges and be able to offer feedback and possible resolutions to their issues and problems, and even not just the individual, but to the locations, to the specific location as well. I believe the greatest thing is that it was a way to, I guess, the powers that be really take note and create immediate fixes for those different locations. And, I will say that Numotion was struck with challenges with COVID, with people not returning to work, with the transit system as far as shipments or manufacturing, because there were huge delays. And the one thing that Numotion did is that, they continued to reach out to their customers, and I'll say reach out to the customers because as any type of contact, be it on the phone or the internet or the website, or even on TV, there was different commercials, or there was feedback on, what they're doing to still try to make this possible. That's what's in their control. And I think that was a great move because it's hard to continue to tell somebody, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. But you can talk about what you can do and what you are doing. Right. And that's, that's very appreciative. So we've made milestones in that. And, that was the first year. So now moving into, I guess we're in the second half, almost the second half of year 2. And they have created, I'll say, special teams, which Karen and I are on the service team together. And, I just have a passion for service because, I am a customer and, I know what's important to me. So it's easy for me to say what would be important to someone else.
And as we roll out changes, like April's that was out to, soon they're using a new program called Field Connect. And so April's up, she's familiar with the team out there in Lexington, but as different programs are rolled out, she can let us know what works, what doesn't work, and why, and how might we be able to fix that. And I think it has been really helpful to be able to get that feedback from different people in different branches, and with different types of chairs. And and it's also, our last couple meetings have been a little bit of a support group. That's not what it's supposed to be. I mean, they really are there to try to address problems and find solutions. But I think it's not a bad thing when because we do it at the end of the day. So our work days are kind of over, and the last meeting, that particular day, we all kind of had a rough day for different reasons.
We did.
And then we were able to share that, but also share there might have been some issues, but we also, every single one of us also talked about what we were grateful for. Right. And
yes.
Anyway, it ended up being, I don't know, just really, really cool.
It was because, you see everything on a professional level of, what you provide and what you do for everyone. And then we get together and we collaborate. But, we also have these challenges in life. And it's every day, there's something that could, create, some type of redirection in anything. And, I would say our state of mind, our mental aptitude is probably our strongest tool in life, because without that, it's definitely hard to face those challenges and keep going, or allow them to stop us where they are and just say, okay, I'm going to go in my room and I'm going to go get into bed,
Right. Yeah.
So,
we were all a little fatigued at the end of that day, but I mean, I ended up leaving that meeting feeling refreshed and just, at peace.
Yes.
April she got recognized by the sheriff of Fayette County. I think it was it was your first speaking engagement. I believe it was at a school.
It was at a church.
It was at a church. That's right.
Yes.
And the sheriff happened to be there, and then pulled April aside and was like, I need you to come work for me. So tell us a little bit about what you do at the Sheriff's Department.
Okay. So at the Sheriff's Department, I've been there, I guess it's been 7 years now, because I actually volunteered for the first year. And I'm an advocate, and I actually work with victims as well, as far as an intake specialist, and I also do speaking engagements through the Sheriff's Office. So I advocate for victims as far as being their voice, because you will find that most domestic violence victims don't like to talk about their story, don't want to share specific details because they feel judged by others, because others don't understand, why it's not easy to just leave.
Right. Yeah.
You if you're in a situation like that, it's not the easiest thing to do, let alone safely, because no one knows what you're dealing with other than you and that other person. So I also, as far as an intake specialist, when they come in to file for a protection order, I basically listen for the things that they're not saying, so that the resources that they are asking for, I can also match with them with the resources that they're not asking for. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been really important, because there's things that they don't want to say when they do say something else. And, right. With me being there, having to experience taming the beast, so to speak, I can relate to that. And, I totally understand. So it makes my job, I don't want to say easier, because it's definitely a challenge.
You have been there. And I think as a person, even just with a spinal cord injury and being a social worker and working with other people who are recently disabled, when you've been in a similar situation, people are more willing to listen to maybe advice that you give. They're a little less resistant. And then they probably know that you might be one of the only people that has a clue of what they're dealing
that
with.
can relate.
You can relate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which does give you a little bit of a magical power and a little bit of an edge over some random, I hate to say it, deputy, or, not that I love all people in law enforcement, but I mean, to have been a woman who's had that experience before, I think it's very powerful. And so I guess I just wanted to say thank you. First of all, I think you're such a bright light in this world.
Thank
you're
you.
a bright light on every call, and I know you are at the sheriff's office and every place else that you are lucky, people are lucky enough to know you. Cause just, no matter what your challenges are that you're going through, you always have that beautiful smile on your face and you're ready to help somebody else and full of kindness. So, April, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I will, what is your hand, I guess your name on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll put that in the show notes too.
Oh, okay. So I'm just regular April Ballentine on Facebook. I use the hashtag Walk With Me. And I guess on Instagram, it's AYB724. I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
other than that, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you my nonprofit stuff. Well, I think I've sent that to you, so you'll be able to share that as well.
I'll put that link as well on the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Bye.